Waste. In the history of our existence on planet Earth as we know it, we have never faced such a large-scale problem as we do today. The statistics are quite alarming.
There are growing calls for Kiwis to be aware of the waste they throw out.
New Zealand's recycling practices are being called into question.
How much do you really know about what should be going into the recycling bin?
Sector says the industry is in crisis with thousands of tonnes of plastic.
Consumers to think differently about plastic and the environment.
Every year, more than 300 million takeaway cups go to landfill in New Zealand.
We actually need to look to the future.
We need a behaviour change from customers.
It's true. Only by reduce that we can save our earth now.
Most of my life, I guess I've been a blind consumer, not really knowing from one decision to the next what impact my choices have, not just here in New Zealand, but on a global scale. Now, more than ever, is the time to stop and think about what our choices as consumers are doing on an environmental level.
In order to discover more and to fully understand the scale of the problem, I needed to speak to an expert. So I asked for some help from waste minimisation educator Kate Fenwick.
Kate's invited me along to one of her workshops tonight to learn a little bit more about how she educates people around the issue of waste. And one of the key messages is the unfortunate truth of just how much of a wasteful society we've become.
Kate has years of experience running workshops across the country, addressing all the myths of rubbish and recycling and teaching people better habits about how to deal with waste.
Listening to a lot of what Kate talks about in her workshop has really opened up my eyes to the problem at hand. And I'm so keen to learn more about what I can do to play my part in reducing waste and keeping New Zealand that clean, green country that we all think it to be.
Waste is such an out of sight, out of mind thing. You push it to the curb every Friday, disappears like magic, and where does it go? Nobody really thinks about it because it's not your problem. You paid and it went away.
I mean, I've made a lot of small changes lately over the past year myself, but I'm sort of feeling a little bit guilty because I think some of those things you mentioned tonight I'm doing wrong. So maybe you could give me some pointers.
I'd love to give you some pointers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're free tomorrow morning, I can pick you up and, come back to my place and dig through my rubbish.
New Zealand alone produces over 17.5 million tonnes of waste every year, with an estimated 12.6 million tonnes that is being sent straight to landfill. It's clear that something needs to change, and to find the source of the problem, we need to begin with our own behaviour as consumers.
So I suppose the first thing you want to look at is my recycling bin, right?
Your bins.
Well,
I feel
I've got it very well organised. So I've got recycling in the back, and my rubbish goes in here.
In the front.
In the front.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I'm like, why do you have a bin liner, Brad? Like, what is the bin liner for?
Because it keeps everything in it, and then I just take that out and put it outside into the rubbish.
Okay, so just a thought. The bin lifts out.
Yes.
So this is something
then I have
often...
to wash that bin if there's food scraps.
Oh
on
no.
it. I know.
Oh no.
I mean, I'm a very busy young man.
But food scraps shouldn't be going in this bin. So essentially, if you're only putting the things in your rubbish bin that should be going to landfill, you just about wouldn't even have to clean this bin.
Right.
So we don't need plastic liners. Like, it's just so a lot of people use the plastic bag thing as like the excuse to keep getting plastic bags, is that I need it to line my bin. But if you are just doing the normal waste with no food waste, this bin could be clean. And if it's dirty, you can clean it.
Yeah, this is true.
Give it a scrub.
This is true.
Give it a scrub.
Okay. So the recycling.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'd like to think that I'm pretty good with most of these things, but I guess there's always those things I'm unsure about. This went in there this morning.
This is not recyclable because this is a multi-product. So you've got paper on the outside, you've got foil on the inside, and then you've got metal on the bottom with a plastic lid. So what they call this is a multi-product. It can't be recycled.
Wow.
But it's got the number on it, so that's the trick that we think, oh, it's good, it's got the number on it, so I'm fine.
But that landfill.
Yep.
My only option.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's disappointing, but so this was lunch today. And this was something I'm unsure about. Usually what I do is I rinse it out. So I have rinsed it out. I rinse everything. And then I think to myself, yep, it's got the triangle.
Number 7
so
on it.
Recyclable.
Yes.
And pop that in.
No. Because this is a soft plastic. So anything you can scrunch into a ball, like plastic wrap, or the wrap around your meat trays, things like that, is a soft plastic. So that, even though it's got the number on it, is not recyclable in your recycle bin.
Wow.
There you go. You can just pop that in your...
As you can see, I like...
You like soup?
Soups.
You like soup? Oh, you really like soup?
I really like soup. Wow, okay.
So that would be one to put it in a plastic bag, like rinse it out exactly as you've done, put it in a plastic bag, collect it and take it to the supermarket next time you're going in to get your soup, and pop it in the soft plastic recycling bin.
It turns out I have a lot more to learn when it comes to improving my own wasteful habits. So Kate agreed to take me on a trip around New Zealand to visit some of the country's waste management facilities.
All right, Kate, well, we're in Queenstown. This is one of my most favourite places in the country because I think it really symbolises the whole clean, green Kiwi image that we all love and we're so proud of. But one of the things I'm starting to learn is that we're creating a lot of waste, aren't we?
We are. It's actually quite scary, Brad.
Where does it begin for us as consumers?
So it's what we buy and take home, Brad. I mean, that's the main part of where we actually create the waste, what we buy and take home and then have to deal with. So when you've got the likes of your recycling and things, you know, you take it home and then, you can recycle it. But what happens if it's not being able to be recycled because you're not recycling properly?
Right.
We put everything in the rubbish bin and some of us think that there's a little man who takes anything out that shouldn't be there. But
you're telling me there's not?
No, that little man doesn't exist.
Oh.
He's a figment of our imagination.
Right. So you're going to take me on a bit of a journey to see some of the key waste streams of where my rubbish goes.
Yes, do I have a treat for you, Brad?
First, we took a trip to a recycling plant to explore the process of recycling and better understand some of the problems these facilities face as a result of our poor recycling habits.
Right, so Brad, this is the recycling facility where all the recycling comes in off the back of the trucks.
Okay, so the trucks come in here, they dump their load that they've picked up from the curbside.
Yep.
And then it goes to, I'm guessing, a sorting line.
Yes, it does.
So some of the things, I've just seen a Christmas tree over here.
Yes.
So someone thought that they could recycle a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I mean, if they were going to recycle a Christmas tree, they should have just got a normal Christmas tree. Or if they were going to have a plastic Christmas tree, they could have used it for many, many years.
Right. So things like this, is this going to get sent to landfill or is that going to get recycled?
That's going to be sent to landfill.
Why?
So it actually can't go through the sorting line. That would get trapped in the equipment. So they don't want that sort of size thing in there. Even things like this here. So this is a bit of a risk because it could get wrapped around some of the equipment. So they'll be trying to take off as soon as possible. But I mean, there's huge amounts of contamination that you can see just looking at this point here. And that's just straight out of people's bins.
In 2024, recycling was standardised across New Zealand to help improve household recycling. This means that wherever you go in the country, the rules are now the same, which helps to make recycling more effective and a lot less confusing.
So what happens here?
Everything that we saw on that pile is going to come up through this process and it's going to be sorted. So a lot of people don't realise in New Zealand the recycling is hand sorted, so people actually touching it.
Right. And just you saying that, I've spotted something over there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see what I see.
It's a special pair of undies for you.
Right. I'm not wearing gloves.
Look, it's even got some hairs in it.
Great. So someone has honestly thought that they could recycle that and put it in their recycling bin.
They have, yeah.
So what's going to happen? So it comes through, these people are actually sorting through.
They are. So these guys are actually looking for contamination. So anything that shouldn't be in the recycling, they'll be pulling off.
So what is classed as contamination that they're looking for?
So dirty bottles,
underwear?
Underwear. Any sort of clothing. Those they have bags where people have put their recycling in bags. They'll get taken off and thrown away because it could just be rubbish. But a lot of it is like food waste and things like that, which is, and you can see like this chute here will be filling up and it will be going, picked up and put into a bin at the end of the line that goes to landfill.
Wow.
Yeah. So down this way, Brad, there's a couple of quite cool different systems going on here.
Right.
Up here, there is a big heavy magnet that's pulling off all
look, all the cans are flying up.
Yeah.
Right.
So the cans fly up off the belt and go into there.
Right.
And then they come down and they get baled into the baler over here.
Right.
They weigh hundreds of kilos. And then as we come along this area, these guys are looking for specific plastics and different materials. So here we've got some cardboard coming off. There's the milk bottles are going into one area.
Right, so they're separating...
They're separating all the plastics so they can get the best value for the plastic. Some councils would have machines that do all this work, but it's actually providing people jobs as well.
And that's where it's so important for these people, where they're picking out contaminants or needles or things that we're just
Randomly throwing away,
ignorantly throwing into our recycle bins, that someone has to deal with at the other end. You know, meeting half of these people here who are on the line, you know, great people, got families at home.
Yeah, it can hurt people, and it is people. Yeah.
So I guess a lot of the contamination coming through where the hazards are, we're getting broken glass is probably a big one for our guys, so they must wear gloves at all times to prevent the cuts and things like that. Objects such as, you know, needles coming through, which really clearly aren't a recyclable item, but they do come through at times. The biggest piece of advice from me and the guys here would be just to ensure things go in the correct bins. So waste products in the waste bin and the actual recyclables in the recyclable bin. We had some human ashes come through around Christmas time, still in the box, and also, you know, such as last week there was a dead cat came through. So again, you know, they're clearly not recyclable items. So yeah, you wonder what people are thinking when they put them in their bin.
What have we got here?
So Brad, this is a great example. This is all the stuff that's come off the end of the line or been pulled off up the top where I showed you.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that people have put in the recycling bin that's not recyclable. So for example, something that they're constantly dealing with is disposable nappies.
Right. So someone's put this in their recycling bin.
They have.
So the only place for this is in landfill. Is in landfill.
Yeah, yeah. Another example is like bags full of rubbish. That just gets pulled off right at the start and goes straight to landfill.
So if I'm putting all my recycling into a plastic bag and tying it up, and then I put that and I go, oh yeah, I'm doing my job as recycling? No.
No, it's going to landfill.
Okay.
And because the problem is, like this bag being an example, you could have done a really good job of washing your recycling, but then in this bag here, we've got pizza boxes, bacon rinds,
so there's food
bones,
in here.
there's food.
So someone's gone,
it's really
this
stinky.
is recycling. Oh, what's that?
That's bacon.
Right. So someone thought that they could recycle that.
Bacon.
So I'm seeing things like the KFC box down there. Like people are obviously thinking, oh, well, it's cardboard. It can be recycled.
It's food contaminated. So you
is it the same as this pizza box?
Yep.
Yeah?
So this pizza box, you have to check with your council whether you're...
Oh, look, we've got a slice of... You want lunch? Someone's kindly left us a few... I mean, they should have eaten the crust
They
to
should
begin
have,
with.
and the whole pizza,
But they've left a slice of pizza and thought, well,
and
we
then
can recycle
it.
Seeing the recycling plant in person was really an eye-opener, and it blew me away how bad we really are when it comes to putting the right things in the right bin.
So Kate, I guess one of the biggest things for me as a consumer to think about is just how much waste is still going to landfill.
Yeah, that's right, Brad. We all just put it into the rubbish bin and we think it all disappears like magic.
So things like, we were having lunch earlier and I observed the girl at the cafe who was clearing the tables take one of our plastic bottles and put that straight into the rubbish.
Yeah, yeah.
So I asked her and I said, well, you know, do you have recycling? And she said, well, we were told that it gets sorted.
Yeah, and that's a myth for people. They don't understand that the recycling is only getting sorted if you put it in the recycling bin, not in the rubbish bin. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Nobody sorts it. So that's just you know, that's a sort of a common myth that we have. Recycling is not the solution. Like, a lot of us think as long as we're recycling, we're doing good. Right. But recycling is not the actual solution. Above that is reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And reducing is the goal, is the key, really. If we can reduce the amount of waste, then we don't have stuff that needs to be recycled. But at the present time, there's a lot of businesses that are bringing in new one-use items that maybe never existed before, that all of a sudden becomes a new waste stream that the councils have to deal with, and it's not the council's fault.
After visiting the recycling plant, what really interested me were some of the further initiatives being created around waste management here in New Zealand. One of these being Southland Disability Enterprises in Invercargill.
We've been operating since 1973. We're a not-for-profit charity. Our key point of difference is providing work for people with disabilities, providing opportunities to those that otherwise wouldn't normally have a job to go to each day.
I work up on the line sometimes, and I've met a lot of people. I enjoy coming here. At least it's a job. You're not stuck at home twiddling your thumbs or watching TV.
When it comes to electronic waste, even though these items cannot go in your recycling bins, you can still drop off your old electronics to places that recycle e-waste, like here at Southland Disability Enterprises.
So Brad, this is part of the operation at Southland Disability.
Right.
These guys actually take it all in and they strip all the wires and take a lot of the metals out of it.
Right, because I've always wondered about that, because in society today as consumers, we're creating a lot of electronic waste. It seems to be, I would imagine a big problem.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you look at all the products we've got in our households.
So what, they'd take stuff like this and strip wires and try and recycle as much as possible?
Yeah, they take the copper and things like that out.
Yeah. That's cool.
Next on the list was a visit to the wastewater plant to uncover some of the myths about where our toilets, pipes and drains go and what actually happens to it.
So here we are at the start of the wastewater treatment plant, Brad.
Right, it smells really bad. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's actually got that real bad...
wee smell?
I was going to say poo smell. Okay, so what's happening here?
So what we've got going on here is we've got the water coming through, and then there's a system down here that is screening out the waste. So we'll see.
And I can already see some wipes in there.
Yeah.
So the wipe, why is that going in there?
All the wipes, so any flushable wipes, flushable liners, tampons, anything like that.
But they're flushable?
Well, they're not. It might say that they're flushable, but they're actually not flushable. So anything that's not toilet paper doesn't break down properly, and so it ends up down in this system, and it will end up getting put into a bin and sent to landfill.
Okay, so this smells really bad. So what's next?
Okay, let's take it here.
Okay, so this process smells a lot better already than the last one. So what's going on here?
Certainly does. So in the different wastewater treatment plants, they have to take out more solid waste. So we've seen the big solids be taken out in the other section.
Like our wipes and
liners. So now they're trying to take out other solids. So there'll be any grit, things like corn. It all sinks to the bottom and it gets...
corn?
Yeah, corn.
Why is corn coming through here?
Because we don't chew our corn properly, Brad.
Right.
So the corn all goes to the bottom and it gets scraped off and it goes into another bin, and that bin goes straight to landfill as well.
Right.
And another thing that you might not know is most wastewater treatment plants aren't actually set up to deal with raw food waste. So products like incinerators are not always the best way to get rid of your food waste.
Really?
Yeah, you're better off to compost.
Because it's all going to go to landfill.
Yeah, it's pretty much all just scraped off and sent to landfill.
So when I sort of rinse my plate and I sort of jam all the leftover peas and corn and carrots with a fork, I normally get a fork and I just jam it down the sinkhole. So I'm contributing to the...
It turns out that some of my naughty habits actually end up having a direct effect on the wastewater process.
So,
okay, I'm a little bit worried why you probably me to this bin. What have I done?
So you know when you were talking about poking your peas and corn down the hole?
This smells really bad, by the way.
This is where that goes, and any heavy waste like I was talking about before. And this bin goes to landfill. So you thought that that was bad smelling. This one's just a little bit.
Just a little bit. All right, I'm not going to jam any more peas and corn down the sinkhole again.
No, let's move on from this bin, shall we?
I'm going to get a compost. I'm going to get a compost.
Some of the things that shouldn't come here is a real big problem. Kids' toys, plumbers' tools, cell phones, jandals, the wipes that we're getting that people are selling now shouldn't come here. We're quite happy to take the wastewater and we'll treat that. We're quite happy with that. So that's sort of where it should end.
So Brad, this is the last sort of phases of the wastewater treatment plant. And I would like to just comment again that every single council's wastewater treatment plant is different. The biggest thing I think we need to worry about is consumers' behaviour when it comes to wastewater. Because first of all, we're flushing things we shouldn't flush down there. Secondly, we're actually flushing a lot of chemicals down there. And the really unfortunate thing is that the councils can't take the chemicals out of the water.
But isn't it different if we flush it down the laundry or the toilet? You know, because you don't flush chemicals down the kitchen sink, do you?
No.
Because it goes somewhere different.
No, it doesn't. No.
It all ends up here.
Yeah. So even, and I know some people have flushed like really bad chemicals, like, you know, could be weed killer or something down the toilet.
Because
that's where you put the worst stuff.
Right.
But it all goes to the same pipe,
yeah, and
it goes to the wastewater treatment plant. They can't get all of the chemicals out of the water. The water goes from here out into our oceans and rivers, and we're actually doing damage.
That's crazy. I tell you what, I'm going to change a lot of my behaviours, Kate.
This is good news. This is very good news.
This visit was certainly an eye-opener. Unfortunately, something as simple as flushing the wrong thing down the drain can lead to damaging our oceans and waterways. Now it was time to get involved with something called a waste audit to really get a sense of what's being thrown away each week in our rubbish bins.
Brad, I'd really like you to meet Marty from Waste Watchers.
Hey Brad, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Nice to see you, Marty.
Nice to see you.
So can you tell us a little bit about what a waste audit is and what we can expect?
Sure. A waste audit, Kate, is really just auditing what people throw away and what goes to the landfill. So it helps us find information about putting together programs to help people not send that material to the landfill.
I'm really starting to question what I've gotten myself into. It's fine now because I can't smell the rubbish, but I got a whiff of it while we were outside and it does not smell very good at all. The thing that shocks me about this is that somebody has to deal with this. We throw this out on our curbside and it's out of sight, out of mind until we see it like this. And then we go, this is what we throw away and this is what people like you have to deal with.
Yep, so some clothing there that could have been made into rags, or maybe if it's good enough given to an op shop, I don't know, but it's possible they could still be used. Recycling, all the meat trays now are recyclable, that's a number one.
So it could have been washed,
recycled. There we go, whole loaf of edible food.
Wow.
That's the first thing out of our bag, and all of this stuff. That wasn't eaten as well. So a lot of edible food gets thrown away. Just like that, you just tear it like that and just dump it out like that. That's it. Okay, that's pretty disgusting. So we're gonna sort all that food.
Terrible.
Yep. That's the only way to find out what's in there, Brad, is to...
Oh God. So Marty, you guys have to deal with this on a regular basis.
Well, if you want to do a proper waste audit, you'd probably do 100 bags a day, 5 days in a row. And that gives you a really good indication of what people are throwing away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying extremely hard here, Marty, not to gag.
Yep, I can see that.
It's really hard to explain how bad this stuff smells. And this is what we throw away in our rubbish bins on a weekly basis. And most of it will go to a landfill. Well, all of this would have gone to a landfill. See, Marty, this just blows my mind because we don't see this when we put it in our bags.
No.
But just the sheer volume of stuff that, surely could that be composted?
That could be composted. All this could be composted, all of this stuff here. And what a lot of people don't realize, Brad, is that this is the most harmful thing we throw away. Banana skins, corn, bread,
eggshells, tomatoes, that this stuff, when it rots underground, does more damage than burying plastic, because plastic doesn't give off gases. Not that we want to waste plastic. We need to get the food out of the landfills because that's what causes greenhouse gases when it rots down.
And looking at this volume, most of what we've got here is food.
Yep, it's a huge contributor. It's probably in the neighborhood of 30 to 40% of everything that gets landfilled every day in this country is banana skins, potato peels, corn, and it shouldn't be there. It does not turn into compost in a landfill. It turns into greenhouse gases. It is harmful.
Wow, that blew my mind.
Was that fun?
I wouldn't call it fun, but it was definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, it is. It is, and most people don't see that. And that's the main issue is the food and the organic waste, because that's the stuff that's doing the damage. But it's a huge amount of wasted material that could be put to better use, and we shouldn't be hauling that stuff to the landfill every day.
Well, I'm done. Lunch?
The amount of excess food waste we produce on a daily basis shocked me. There are, however, things we can do to help reduce some of this waste. Initiatives like community fridge projects are a great example. Community fridges like this one are set up and run by volunteers to help distribute excess food to people that really need it.
A lot of food goes to waste, and I hate any sort of waste, especially food, because that's a basic need. I know people who live on the street who really need food, and others who may have a home but they have very little money left over.
There's a number of fridges throughout the country, and with the help of volunteers teaming up with supermarkets, a lot of perfectly good food can be put to use and consumed rather than being sent to landfill. Another great initiative, educating people about how to manage food consumption and reduce the amount of food they waste, is Love Food, Hate Waste.
So the average Kiwi household throws away every year about 3 shopping trolleys worth of food. So for some families that's around $560 a year that they're spending on food, which they end up throwing away. So in money terms, that adds up to about $872 million worth of food that families are throwing away. So we're not talking about supermarkets or farmers, it's families who go to the supermarket, buy their food and just don't get around to eating it and throw it away.
After learning a lot about some of our wasteful habits, it was time to actually visit a landfill, where most of our waste eventually ends up. But first, we made one last stop to check out a transfer station.
So Kate, these bins here, most of them are filled with cardboard actually. What's the purpose of these?
So what happens at a transfer station is people are encouraged to come into the recycling area and drop off as much as they possibly can to be recycled before they go over the weighbridge. Because as soon as they go over the weighbridge, the rest of that waste is going to landfill.
Right, so if I've got a whole heap of leftover cardboard from a TV that I've just bought and for some reason I didn't put it in my recycling bin and I go, I'm going to go down to the tip, throw it in the back of the car and take it down to the dump. You're saying drop it here?
Yeah, and this is free.
Because if I don't drop it here, it's going to go to landfill, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kate, these sorts of products, washing machines, fridges, kitchen appliances, things that come to the end of the life, what do we do with them?
Well, these are scrap metal, Brad, so they can be basically all broken down into all the different parts. You've got aluminium, brass, copper, all really high quality, expensive products that can be reused again.
But it's not going to fit in my recycling bin.
No, you can't put a washing machine in your recycling bin. You could try, but it won't fit and they won't take it.
So that's where I bring it down to like the transfer station, right?
And then they'll have a scrap metal bin or an area like this where you can actually get it recycled.
But I need to make the effort to actually take it into somewhere like where it's got recycled steel and whiteware and not to take it through and just push it all out of my car, because if I do that, once I've gone through the weighbridge, it's just going to go to landfill, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
It was now time for the part I had been dreading the most. Throughout this journey, there were constant reminders that if our waste is not disposed of properly or recycled correctly, it will end up in a landfill. It really is hard to witness the devastating results of our poor consumer behaviours.
Honestly, Kate, the places you drag me I don't know what I'd get myself into. I thought that the waste audit that we did was bad enough, but now we're actually standing in the middle of a pile of rubbish.
We are.
But it's crazy, the reality that this is where it all ends up.
Yeah.
Like, that's what hits home for me, seeing it.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing is we push our bins to the curb and it all disappears like magic, but it doesn't go to a mystical place. It goes into our land, and you can see, Brad, it's full of plastic. There's lots and lots of bad smells, weird noises. You know, it's quite disheartening to see what we're actually doing. But I think this is the reality that we have to face, is that we are actually creating a problem, and it's not a council's fault, and it's not like landfill is a necessity because we have to have a place to put all of this rubbish. But it's not a council's fault. It's not anybody's fault except
well, because
ours.
the councils aren't creating this, and that's what I'm seeing, is that this is our behaviour as consumers. This is my behaviour, your behaviour.
Yeah.
Collectively, this is all of us here.
Yeah.
You know, and our day-to-day choices that we make.
Yep, we just put that bin out and it just disappears, and we never see where it actually goes. And if we had to actually see all the plastic and all of the smells and, you know, just the sheer quantity of waste spread, I think that we would realise that as consumers, we're the ones at fault because we buy the products and then we just throw things away. And we need to change our behaviour. It's the only way we can solve these problems is by changing our behaviour.
Well, Kate, I can honestly tell you this whole journey's been really eye-opening for me. All the processes that I just didn't think about as a consumer, about when I put that in that bin, or when I flush that down the toilet, or when I try and prod that down my sink with a fork. It all ends up in the same place, and a lot of that is landfill.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little things that we can do every day to make differences.
Taking responsibility for our behaviour as consumers is so important. There really is a lot we can do as individuals that will make a difference to the overall reduction of what's being wasted here in New Zealand. It seems that changing our attitude towards waste is the most important aspect of making improvements. Apart from avoiding as many disposable or single-use products as possible, just taking a few extra moments to check if the products and packaging we're throwing away is actually recyclable is a great place to start. One simple way to make a difference is to explore alternatives and find products that can be reused a number of times to prevent unnecessary waste ending up in landfills. Search out initiatives like a community fridge in your area or an e-waste recycling program for your old electronic waste. No matter how small you start, just doing one thing to help reduce your waste footprint will make a monumental difference in the preservation of our planet.